So, who's ready to see something fun now? All right. So, remember how easy it was to drag and drop that scene? And once you have it here, this is your model. Now, imagine being able to add the side to it just by doing the following. You create a terrain. That terrain is going to have kind of a size that you can adjust if you want to. The resolution is based on whatever the units you set up. So then once you have that, again, if you can control it, you have this set of terrain tools, which for those of you who use 3 Studio Max, they have something very similar, where now you can start painting with different brushes. So I can start, whoops, that's big. You can start kind of, you can paint around and make your own little mountains. You can change the brush size. So it's actually pretty fun to start working with this. And again, you can change the opacity, which is just going to make this a little bit. But you know what? Most important thing is to grab the house and actually put it in a front view. Look at where my terrain is, probably very, very far away. Yep. There's a nice thing that you can do too, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Ooh, that was really, really far. All right, so what I was trying to do here is you can do that. You know what? I can always bring the house later, and then I just worry about the little terrain first. So watch this. If I know where it's going to be, let's say around here, you can start painting, like I said before, depending on the size in the brush and the opacity, which is, it pretty much just defines how thick and how rough it's going to be, then you can go ahead and start smoothing things out. You can start flattening things. You can start, like I said, smoothing it a little bit. But then the fun part is start painting on it. So once you have this, then you can add textures. The textures are things that you preload. How do you preload it? Drag and drop from outside, or you can import it as an asset. There's something called import asset, which is the same thing as dragging and dropping. Anyway, so I'm going to look for a texture that is for terrain. I already have some already loaded, so I'm going to go here and add it. You can change the title size here, so it looks a little tiled. So what I'm going to do here is simply change it to, let's say 50, 60. And there you go. So then I can add another one. And you tell me how easy it is to kind of now generate a little more realistic in terms of blending textures. So now maybe I do a little grass here. So that grass, I'm going to load it. Now I can grab my brush and start painting right on top of it. So you can see that, well, first click on it. Then you can start painting a little bit. Maybe you can change the size. See what I'm doing? So then what I'm going to do here is the following. Maybe I'm going to add... watch, a little bit of dirt. There's one for sand. Oh, let's do some rocks. Here's the sand. All right, so again, you can start painting. Make sure you select it, and maybe you can blend it a little bit, so you can change the strength, so you can kind of paint, but really subtly. See what I'm doing here? So again, very, very easy to generate this. So how long did that take me? Really not much time. Then I go to the next tab, which is Edit Trees. So by default, there's a ton of different what they call packages, which I'll explain in a minute. But right now, by the out-of-the-box package comes with quite a few. So again, I'm going to choose, let's say, palm tree. Again, this is really great because it gives you a lot of control. And you see this called bend factor. You're going to see how that looks. How cool that's going to be. So I'm going to make it, let's say, 1 for now. So then check this out. I'm going to say how many trees, maybe the variation for the height. Maybe make it so it's kind of random. And check this out. Well, actually, that's too heavy. You can change the intensity, tree density. So now you can start kind of painting all over the place. Maybe you can add more trees. How is
Anybody here do landscape architecture?
Oh. You don't have to be a landscape architect to enjoy doing this. Check this out. So once you start populating your trees, again, it's based on the type of component that you load. Then you go ahead and do more things like adding details like grass. So this is pretty neat because the grass and a lot of the elements in Unity are interactive. So I believe I have one here. Check this out. It's called grass. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe change a little bit of color so it looks a little more realistic. Add it. And check this out. I'm going to just zoom in. And what's going to happen is once I paint over an area, is going to have the grass emulated in terms of, here, actually, let me show you. When I hit play, which I'm going to do in a minute, now I can do the one last thing, which is add what they call a character controller. A character controller, I already loaded it. What Peter was doing before was trying to insert it. So I have my list of components here. I'm going to load that one, put it in. And now I have this configure person. I'm going to double click on it. Here's my little guy. Now this is really fun because you can make this into a first person or third person. And once you do, you can start putting this wherever you want. You start seeing the grass here. It's kind of a little cheesy, but you'll see how cool that is. So I'm going to maybe split this into, there's different layouts for Unity, so you can see kind of what's happening here and what's happening there. So anyway, right now, it doesn't look that overwhelming, but do you see the, very, very hard to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have light coming in. So let me put a little sunlight so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to do a directional light. So now, can you see? That light, again, only one. Directional light represents the sun. And again, you could do this in Max, embedded into the geometry, but I'm doing it here. So check this out. I'm going to go and add a little shadow. So now I can see my texture. And let's hit play. See that play button? So let's see what we can do here. So now, actually, let's hit it on a maximize on play. So I'm going to turn on my controller. So this is the Xbox remote. You can use PlayStation, you can use any other controller. All you need is an adapter. You can get it for like $8. The adapter automatically is recognized by the Windows. I didn't have to even install a driver. So check this out. Now, well, try to turn it on right before you hit play. And then hit play. And then nothing's happening. So here, let's try it again. Let's try it without the Xbox for now. I'll show you how you can change the input. So watch. So you can now kind of navigate your scene just like if it was a video game. So the one thing that you can do, and this the one thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to change the input. And Peter is going to elaborate a little bit more on it. So when you do this, it will automatically assign, let's say for the mouse, joystick axis, and there's a mapping controller where it's going to tell you which buttons represents what. So this is pretty neat, and we have that documented, and there's a lot of information online as well. But it allows you to navigate and kind of change the way you look at things in the model. So again, let me see if it kicked in. It's not kicking in. My advice is always try to plug it in before. But I have already some presets, so don't worry about that for now. So in terms of that, that's one of the easiest things that you can do. Let me add some more kind of effects that you see normally not available in other applications. So here, let me show you exactly what I mean. So as you can see, when you hit play, do you see the grass moving? See? So there's a lot of effects that are available. Even this, something called wind. So I'm going to go here and add what they call a component. There's a game object here called wind zone. What I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe, and this is pretty neat, you can be at any location and you can say move to view, and now I got the object right in front of me. You can then assign, well, if you see this wind has all this information about the speed, turbulence, and so forth. Remember the trees that I painted, that I gave them some factor? It's called the bend factor. Check this out. When I hit play, see the trees? Well, it's a cheesy way of moving, but you can adjust that. But do you see the palm tree moving? So again, this is something kind of out of the box. And you can start just tweaking that information, so it becomes pretty fun to do. Oh, and by the way, there's something called particles. The particles.
Before we move on to particles, now with the wind here, it might look a little cheesy, look a little neat, but for an easy way of looking at this, if you're working on sustainability, let's say you've gone into Vasari, you've gone into maybe CFD, and you've figured out, okay, this is how much wind is coming through here. Now you've done the actual research and the analysis, and you've got the data that backs up, what we can expect on this, and you're trying to show to the client, this is what it's really going to look like maybe when you have something for a wind farm, or maybe you have the cylindrical elements that actually can generate electricity via wind, and they really don't want that because I don't think it's going to look good. Now you can actually show them exactly what that looks, number one, at speed, where the wind's coming from. So it's not just something that kind of looks neat. There are a lot of different ways that you can take advantage of this for presentation, for showing clients, showing engineers, for just about anything.
Yeah, so again, what I just did here was import what they call a package. There's all these different packages. And again, a package is really just a set of assets. So let's say you want to bring in fire, you want to bring in water, you want to bring in different things that are going to enhance the level of detail. So let me see. This is why it's important to organize things in folders, because you can spend some time figuring out where you put it in. So let me just search particles. Say flame. So I believe this is the one that I want. You can drag and drop it. Now check that out. So again, already ready to go. And there's a whole set of packages. Maybe I want to do smoke. And then there's my detail smoke here. So I'm going to put that here. Let's see how that looks when I hit play. Now how easy was that? Check the smoke out.
And the idea behind this is that there's no programming involved. There's dragging and dropping and telling it how big should this be.
If you look at the code behind it, you faint. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing because you don't need to know the code. And I'll show you some examples in a minute. So somebody said something very interesting, like you don't have to understand how the video camera is made of, or what is how it's put together to make a great film. So it's the same thing. You can make fantastic things with this tool without really understanding a lot of what's going on behind the scenes. So again, this is just an example. Here, you can do water. So let me see if I can just do that. And it's easy to find things. Oh, let's say water. So waterfall. So there's one here called waterfall. Check this out. Drag and drop. And of course, you got to raise it. So where it's going to be. And it's actually pretty fantastic. I have one that I'm going to show you in a second. And then let's say I do water fountain. I think it's water fountain. There you go. And you have all these parameters that you can control. That's the beauty of the scripts. The scripts allow you to add more properties to it that you can control at any time. So that's just a few. Again, there's very cool other components, like let's say if I do water, which there's already a whole set of options here for water. So let me see if I find the one I want.
And while he's looking for it, you can imagine doing the Bellagio in there in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, so it's actually really, really cool. So here, let me see if I find the one I want. And it's pretty much just drag and drop it. I already have one. I'll show you in a minute. So anyway, so this is how easy you can have a scene put together. But check this out in terms of how far you can go. So I already have a scene here saved that has kind of some things set up front. So here it is. For a minute. You can save the scene. What you could do is you can have multiple scenes, and what they can be is maybe like different design options, like he was saying. Like one with this, one with that, this. You can copy-paste stuff from this one into the other. So this is really great, because you can have, let's say, birds flying now. Check this one out. So this is like a little Jurassic Park little island. And let me see if this is not working. Huh. You know what?
That part's plugged in, right?
Yeah, I think it's plugged in. I brought another one just in case. But can anybody hear the sound of those little birds? Yeah. You see the birds right there?
Mm-hmm. And again, all the things that we've been showing are more... The reason why we're focusing on like exterior shots as opposed to one that's like in urban area in a city is in the urban area in a city you can kind of get lost in just some brick and some concrete. When you're looking at foliage, there's a lot of detail in there. There's a lot of little particles. So if you can see the amount of detail that you can get in this, you know a brick wall is actually going to be very easy to put in and actually look very good. And for something like this with the sound, if you're looking at something like a expressway and you're trying to show somebody that we're going to put up these barriers here so that you won't be able to hear that, going through different options and having, okay, now this is what it's going to look like in sound, you know, as it is right now if we go this direction. And then you can actually show them the difference and also have them experience that so that, again, it's more immersive. So you can actually sell somebody not just with a pretty picture, but also with all of their senses.
And that's actually, I mean, just part one of what we're trying to do. Well, you can even have underwater effects if you wanted to. Pretty neat. So, again, this is just the exterior. Here.